Hello, this is Environmental Design Librarian Emily Dommermuth, and in this video you will learn to understand and find different kinds of articles. This video will first cover the attributes of popular media sources, including newspaper and magazine articles, and then go into how to locate them using the CU Boulder Library subscription databases. Next, we'll cover the attributes of academic peer-reviewed journal articles and how to find them. And finally, we will talk about the attributes of trade journal articles and how to find them. First, what are popular media articles, including newspaper and magazine articles? This is the article type you're most likely already most familiar with. They are written for an audience that is broad and general, so any person could read the article and generally follow along. They're written by writers and journalists who write professionally for that newspaper or magazine. The content is focused on news, current and topical topics, as well as opinion pieces. And the purpose is to inform and entertain readers. The articles are reviewed before they're published. They're reviewed and edited by an editor or a team of editors. And the tone of the articles is casual and accessible. Next, let's find some newspaper and magazine articles. From the research guide for this course, we are going to use the Education Source Ultimate database, since you are focused on finding articles about educational spaces for your assignment. A sample topic that we will search for magazine and newspaper articles is the idea of co-education versus single-gender education and how that affects student learning experiences. I'm going to put a few keywords into this database. Co-education and single-gender education are technically opposite topics, but since I'd be interested in reading articles from either perspective, either articles that talk about the effects of co-education on learning or the effects of single-gender or single-sex education on learning, I've added both of those keywords into my search. They are connected by an or, which means any one of these terms could be in the search results, but they don't all have to be in the search results. I do want the concept of learning in my search results, so this is connected with an and. That will narrow down the search. The concepts on either side of the and both have to be in the search results. Next, I'll click search. For this example, I am focused on finding newspaper and magazine articles, so I'm going to use the filter to limit my source type to magazine and newspaper. Once I've clicked the boxes next to magazines and newspapers, I click the blue Apply button in the lower right-hand corner. And now all of my results are from magazines and newspapers. You can skim through the articles. There are a couple of brief sentences that start to give you an idea about what the article is about. You can also learn where it was published and the author. And if you'd like to read this full text of an article, just click either the CU full text button or the PDF full text button, or the access options. We have both PDF and online full text to choose from. Next, let's look at the attributes of academic peer-reviewed journal articles, which are written for a very different audience than newspaper and magazine articles. They're written for an audience of experts, academics, perhaps professionals who work in the field, but people who have a lot of expertise and knowledge about the subject area. The authors are other experts on the topic. They're written by researchers, professors, and scholars who have a lot of expertise and have done work in the topic that they're writing about. The content of an academic peer-reviewed journal article is original research and analysis that the authors have conducted themselves. And the purpose of the article is to form and educate their audience of peers, other academics, about the research that they've done. Peer-reviewed journal articles go through a peer review process that we will talk about on the next slide, and they have a very formal and specialized tone. What is the peer review process? First off, the author writes up the original research that they have done and submitted their paper for publication in a peer-reviewed journal. The editor of that peer-reviewed journal assembles a panel of experts from the field and invites them to evaluate and comment on the paper. The reviewers carefully read the paper and provide their comments and suggestions. The reviewers then return their comments and suggestions to the editor, along with a recommendation to accept, reject, or make changes to the paper and resubmit. The editor looks at all of the reviews, which is typically about 3 reviews, and decides whether or not to reject the paper, request revisions, or accept the paper from publishing. And they advise the author of the paper on this decision. If the paper is accepted or accepted with revisions and the author makes those revisions, the paper is then published in the journal. Let's look at how to find academic peer-reviewed journal articles. Again, I will go to the Education Source Ultimate database, which is linked to on the course guide. For this sample search, I am interested in how air quality is considered in designing schools or in educational spaces. My first concept is air quality, and my second concept is school design or educational spaces. Because I've connected school design and educational spaces with an or, that means that I am looking for articles that have either of those terms in it, but not both of those terms. The article does have to have the concept of air quality in it. Fortunately, the filter to locate just peer-reviewed research articles is right under the search box on our page results. Just click the button that says peer-reviewed, and your results will be only peer-reviewed research articles about school air quality. This first article looks relevant from the Journal of Instructional Psychology, and so if you click on Access Options, you can access the PDF or the online full text of this article. Finally, we'll consider what trade journal articles are. Trade journal articles sit somewhat in between magazine and newspaper articles and academic peer-reviewed journal articles. They are written for a somewhat specialized audience of professionals and practitioners in the field, but they are less specialized than the peer-reviewed research articles. The authors of trade journal articles tend to be writers or professionals who are working in the field, and the content includes professional news and trends, case studies, reviews. The purpose of trade journal articles is to inform and to keep practitioners in the field up to date on their profession. And these articles are usually reviewed by an editor or a professional association before they're published in the trade journal. The tone is understandable within the profession, so you might need to have some background knowledge and expertise in the field to understand the article, but they're not quite as specialized as a peer-reviewed research article. Let's look at how to find trade journal articles in Education Source Ultimate. For our third sample search, I'm interested in how green spaces affect student learning. There are lots of different keywords that are similar to green spaces, and so I'm going to brainstorm quite a few of them. The keywords for green spaces I've considered include outdoor spaces, natural spaces, parks, and playgrounds. So I've connected all of those keywords with an or, since the result could include any of those terms. But I do want the concept of learning to be included in all of the results. So that is connected to my search with and. I'll click search. And once again, this time we are looking for trade journal articles, so I will go to All Filters, click Source Type, and click Trade Publication, and click Apply. And here are some results from trade journals about green spaces or similar concepts and student learning. Once again, click on the Online Full Text button or the Access Options button or the CU Full Text button to get to the full text of the article. I want to note that trade journal articles are the most difficult to find. Some topics that you search for might not include any trade journal results in Education Source Ultimate. So I've included some other databases where you can find them on the research guide for your class. OneSearch, which is a general database not specific to education topics, is a great place to go. It looks just like Education Source Ultimate, so you can use the same buttons to filter down to trade journal articles. Other databases to find trade journal articles include Academic Search Ultimate, which has a similar interface to Education Source Ultimate and OneSearch, so you should be able to easily figure out how to filter to trade journal articles. SciTech Premium Collection and Building Green Suite are two other databases that I recommend for finding trade journal articles. They have a different interface, so you may need to experiment with using them, but you can also ask a librarian for help. Please reach out to me with any questions that you have while you are working on this assignment, and I'm happy to answer those questions. You'll find the contact information to email your course librarians on the guide for your class.